In the ancient city of Athens, love was causing quite the commotion. Duke Theseus was preparing for his wedding to Hippolyta, the Amazon queen he had conquered in battle but now genuinely loved. The entire city buzzed with excitement for the upcoming celebration. But not everyone was happy. A wealthy merchant named Aegis stormed into the duke's palace, dragging his daughter Hermia behind him. "Your Grace," he demanded, "I want this girl to marry Demetrius, as I've arranged." But she refuses and insists on marrying that Lysander fellow instead. Hermia, a spirited young woman with fire in her eyes, stood her ground. "Father, I love Lysander, not Demetrius. You cannot force my heart." Duke Theseus, though sympathetic, had to uphold the law. "Hermia, you have until my wedding day to decide. Marry Demetrius, become a nun, or face death. Those are your options under Athenian law." As they left the palace, Hermia's best friend Helena approached, tears streaming down her face. Helena had once been engaged to Demetrius, but when he saw Hermia, he abandoned Helena completely. Now Helena followed him around like a lovesick puppy, which only made Demetrius despise her more. "I have a plan," Lysander whispered to Hermia. "My aunt lives outside Athens, where their laws can't touch us. We'll elope tomorrow night in the forest." Helena, overhearing this, saw an opportunity. Maybe if she told Demetrius about the elopement, he'd be grateful enough to love her again. It was a desperate plan, but love had made her desperate. Deep in the enchanted forest outside Athens, another love story was unfolding, but this one involved the king and queen of the fairies. Oberon, tall and magnificent with eyes like starlight, was furious with his wife Titania, beautiful beyond mortal comprehension. "Give me that human boy," Oberon demanded. Titania had adopted an orphaned Indian prince, and Oberon wanted the child as his page. But Titania refused. She had loved the boy's mother, who died in childbirth. "Never," Titania declared. "I'll raise him myself." She swept away with her fairy attendants, leaving Oberon seething. Oberon called for his mischievous servant, Puck, a sprite who loved causing trouble. "Puck, I want you to find a purple flower called Love in Idleness. When its juice is dropped on sleeping eyes, it makes the person fall desperately in love with the first thing they see upon waking." Puck's eyes gleamed with mischief. "What delicious chaos do you have in mind, my lord? I'll put it on Titania's eyes while she sleeps. When she wakes up and falls in love with some horrible creature, she'll be so embarrassed she'll give me the boy just to get the antidote." As Puck flew off to find the flower, Oberon witnessed Helena chasing Demetrius through the forest. Demetrius was cruel to her, saying terrible things, but Helena kept following. "I feel sorry for that girl," Oberon thought. When Puck returned with the flower, Oberon gave him additional instructions. "Find that rude young man and put some of this juice on his eyes too. Make sure he wakes up seeing the girl who loves him." But Puck, who thought all humans looked alike, made a terrible mistake. Meanwhile, a group of working-class men had gathered in the forest to rehearse a play for the Duke's wedding. Their leader was Peter Quince, a carpenter trying to direct this hopeless bunch of amateur actors. The star of their group was Nick Bottom, a weaver with an enormous ego and even bigger mouth. "I should play all the parts," he declared. "I'd make an excellent lover, a wonderful tyrant, and a magnificent lady. Bottom, you're playing Pyramus, the lover." "That's enough," Quince sighed. As they rehearsed their tragic love story, Puck discovered them and decided to have some fun. When Bottom went behind a bush for his entrance, Puck magically gave him a donkey's head. When Bottom returned, braying instead of speaking his lines, his fellow actors screamed and ran away. Why are they running? Bottom wondered, unable to see his transformation. "I'll sing to keep my spirits up." And he began to sing in his new donkey voice. His terrible singing woke up Titania, who had been sleeping nearby with Oberon's love potion on her eyes. The first thing she saw was Bottom with his donkey head, and instantly fell madly in love. "What beautiful music," she sighed. "What a gorgeous creature. Come, let me kiss your lovely ears." She commanded her fairies to wait on Bottom hand and foot, feeding him honey and flowers. Bottom, though confused by all the attention, decided to enjoy it. Well, if a beautiful fairy queen wants to spoil me, who am I to argue? Back in another part of the forest, Lysander and Hermia had gotten lost trying to find his aunt's house. Exhausted, they decided to sleep until morning, lying down some distance apart to be proper. Puck found them and, seeing a young man and woman, assumed this was the couple Oberon wanted him to help. He put the love potion on Lysander's eyes and flew away, pleased with his work. Shortly after, Helena came running through the forest, still chasing Demetrius. When she saw Lysander and Hermia sleeping, she woke Lysander to ask if he'd seen Demetrius. The moment Lysander opened his eyes and saw Helena, the magic took effect. "Helena, my darling, my love," he declared, jumping up. "How could I have ever looked at anyone else? You're the most beautiful woman alive." Helena was devastated. "How can you mock me like this? Isn't it enough that Demetrius hates me? Must you torture me too with fake love?" She ran away in tears, and Lysander chased after her, completely forgetting about Hermia. When Hermia woke up alone, she was terrified. "Lysander, where are you? I had such a horrible dream that you'd left me." But he was nowhere to be found. The next morning, Oberon found Titania cuddling with Bottom and his donkey head. "My dear ass," she was saying, "let me stroke your beautiful fur." Oberon was satisfied with his revenge, but when Puck told him what had happened with the humans, he realized they'd made everything worse. "You put the potion on the wrong man, you fool. Now the girl who was loved is abandoned, and the girl who was scorned is being pursued by someone who doesn't really love her." They found Hermia searching desperately for Lysander, while Helena was running from the love-struck Lysander. To fix the problem, Oberon put the love potion on Demetrius's eyes. But when Demetrius woke up, the first person he saw was Helena. "Helena, my goddess, my perfect love," he cried. Now both men were chasing Helena, who thought they were both mocking her. "This is your cruelest joke yet," she sobbed. "Getting both of them to pretend to love me." When Hermia finally found the group, she was furious. "Helena, you stole my Lysander." "I stole nothing," Helena protested. "I don't want their fake love." The two best friends began to fight viciously. Helena, who was tall, accused Hermia of turning the men against her. Hermia, who was short, called Helena a painted maypole, and threatened to scratch her eyes out. Meanwhile, Lysander and Demetrius decided to duel over Helena. The whole situation had become completely insane. Oberon realized he had to fix this mess before someone got seriously hurt. He ordered Puck to lead the two men in circles through the forest until they were exhausted, then make them fall asleep. While they slept, Oberon would put an antidote on Lysander's eyes so he'd love Hermia again. "But leave Demetrius as he is," Oberon instructed. "He did love Helena once, and she deserves to be loved." Puck, using his magic and his talent for mimicry, led both men on a wild chase. First he'd sound like Demetrius calling to Lysander, then like Lysander calling to Demetrius. They stumbled through the dark forest, swinging at shadows, until they finally collapsed in exhaustion. The girls, equally tired from their fighting, also fell asleep nearby. Oberon applied the antidote to Lysander's eyes, and Puck, taking pity on Titania, told Oberon how silly she looked fawning over Bottom. "I have the boy now," Oberon said. "I can afford to be generous." He removed the spell from Titania's eyes and Bottom's head, and the fairy king and queen reconciled with a dance. At dawn, Duke Theseus arrived in the forest with his hunting party, including Aegis. They found the four young people sleeping in a group and woke them up. "What's this?" the Duke demanded. "Hermia, weren't you supposed to give me your decision today?" As the young people woke up, the magic sorted itself out perfectly. Lysander looked at Hermia and remembered his true love. Demetrius looked at Helena and found that his love for her had returned, but this time it felt real and lasting, not like the shallow infatuation he'd had for Hermia. "Your Grace," Demetrius said, "I no longer want to marry Hermia. I love Helena, and I remember now that I loved her first. I was foolish to abandon her." Aegis was furious, but Duke Theseus was delighted. "Perfect. We'll have a triple wedding, Hippolyta and I, Lysander and Hermia, and Demetrius and Helena." The young people looked at each other in amazement. They all remembered the night's events as if it had been a strange, vivid dream. Meanwhile, Bottom woke up alone in the forest, convinced he'd had the most incredible dream. "I dreamed I was loved by a fairy queen," he told his friends. "It was so real, but so impossible." His fellow actors were overjoyed to see him back to normal. "Bottom, we thought you were dead. The Duke wants our play performed at his wedding." That evening, as the three couples celebrated their weddings, the amateur actors performed their hilariously bad play about the tragic lovers Pyramus and Thisbe. Bottom threw himself into the role with such melodramatic enthusiasm that the audience couldn't stop laughing. "This is the silliest play I've ever seen," Duke Theseus whispered to his bride, "but their enthusiasm makes it charming." After the mortals went to bed, the fairies returned to the palace. Led by Oberon and Titania, now reconciled and happy, they blessed the newlyweds and their future children. Puck, always the last to leave, addressed the audience directly. "If our story has offended you, just pretend it was all a dream. After all, what's the difference between the magic of the theater and the magic of dreams? Both show us truths about love, laughter, and the beautiful foolishness of being human." And with that, the sprites vanished into the night, leaving only the memory of a midsummer night when love conquered all. With a little help from magic, mischief, and the transformative power of laughter.